if they are turn on the camera. And also the teacher will feel more, it's easier for them to track the students' participation, because they notice some students, they log in and then they left the room. When you ask questions and no response because the student is not in the room, you won't be able to, catch that if the camera is not on. So that's a very interesting questions, but generally we are not require student, we cannot require student to turn on the camera, but the teacher will encourage them to do so. We also reviewed the bylaws for the SLT. The SLT agreed the bylaw will be approved with a minor revision. Based on the bylaws, parents can participate in the SLT meetings. Like today is there's three parents, they attend as observers. So if you feel you have some time, you can attend the SLT meeting. However, the observer are not allowed to speak based on the bylaws. And also SLT is going to publish the meeting minutes for SLT. And once we post on it, we will let Miss Cindy Golan know. So Cindy is going to send you guys a notification. So feel free to check out. That's all we have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. That's a great report. Very much appreciate it. So I think with that, we can now get to one of the big headlines that some of you no doubt heard about, which is the news that the Vale Bus company is shutting down its service. So Vale has been kind of a key part of the fabric of Bronx science for quite a long time, serving an awful lot of kids. And for a number of reasons, but primarily, as far as we can tell, just because of the pressures applied by the pandemic and COVID and so on and so forth, that there is a need for them to stop providing the service. There is, as a number of you are aware, there were concerns around refunds that some people last year felt they should have been entitled to, and that's led to either a class action suit or a threatened class action suit. I'm not really sure where that stands, but it is our impression that suit, the fact that that's looming over Valo is a part of why they don't feel they can go forward. So it's unfortunate. Our relationship as a PA has always been informal as far as working with Valo. We've never contracted with Valo as the PA. Same with the administration. The administration cannot have a contract with Valo per se. So it's always been very much a matter of families contracting with the bus company. It's been Valo for the last number of years, but there have been other companies in and out. Sometimes there's been more than one. Mostly it's been one company that's provided service for all students, but it's always been a relationship between the families and the bus company. And that's the way it's going to stay going forward. We're fairly confident that a solution will find us, because it's a really appealing market opportunity for somebody. That said, we are interested in anyone who wants to help find out where some of those market opportunities, who might want to take advantage of those market opportunities. So we've been in touch with a few folks and are piecing together kind of who the contact people of the administration would be, and one parent has stepped up and said that she's interested in maybe helping to look for the services, but it's not going to be an official PA solution. I know a lot of you are concerned about that. We will try to facilitate getting you all together to help look for solutions. I'm pretty confident that something will come through. I do think that it's a discussion that we will want to continue. Clearly, for kids that, absent a bus company, need to plan on a more than 2-hour commute, bus is critically important. We understand that. But again, it's never been a PA business. It's never been an administration business. So it's something that families will need to work together to solve. We can and will connect folks looking for those solutions.
If I could, sorry. So my name is Eleanor Kufis. I'm a little later in the agenda. I'm in charge of the Alumni Foundation.
Yep.
We're happy to help with the bus efforts and have a few things, just some contextual things. Valo actually owns multiple bus companies. So as we do our research, we need to make sure that it is not one of their affiliates, and look in those different aspects. The other thing that I think is interesting and that we need to play out, I in essence think that one of the challenges we've had with Valo, and Cindy and I were talking earlier when Cindy's son and I were at Bronx Science, there were 2 different bus companies that service the school, one from Queens and one from Manhattan. I think, a healthy amount of competition where there might be multiple bus companies that are bidding is not a bad solution here, and giving companies an opportunity. And what we may want to consider doing is trying to find a way sort of collectively to put out some sort of RFP and give some different companies an opportunity to come here and pitch, and see what happens. I suspect, along with what you're saying, Jerome, and I think Cliff said it earlier too, I think this is a tremendous business opportunity. I do not think this is just going to evaporate. I think there are going to be multiple bus companies that are interested. So I see someone's had a question from Brooklyn. So when I was a student, Cindy, do you remember this? There was a van from Brooklyn. I never knew there was like wasn't a full like school bus. It was like a little van. And it came from Park Slope. And I need to ask some of the people I know who took it. I never knew if it was just a group of friends who coordinated it amongst themselves, or if they became friends because they all took the little van, because it was a very tight-knit cohort of kids from Park Slope. But there was something, certainly when I was a student, that was coming. I think the idea of a working group is a good one. I'm happy to help with that. There were alums in different capacity. The original bus company was owned by an alum.
Right. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Eleanor. I think that's great. I'm going to mention, and I did ask her if I could do this, but the parent who was already going to raise her hand, God bless her, is Karen Babbage. So I'm hoping that Karen, and working in consort with the administration, most likely AP Cooper, will be able to be kind of the core of that working group Eleanor just mentioned. More than happy to know that we can lean on Eleanor's institutional knowledge on that as well. So we'll work together to try to get good information out there, and I think it will work out. That's where I leave that. Right. And please get in touch with us with more concerns and questions.
Yeah.
Cliff?
Hey, thank you, Jerome. So you just got a sneak preview of our guest speaker for tonight. Eleanor Kufos is the VP of the Bronx Science Alumni Foundation. And I have to say, as involved as I've been in the school over the years, outside of sending them a check in most years, and by the way, they won't be naming a wing of the school after me anytime soon. I only had a vague understanding of what the Alumni Foundation does and how important a role it plays in the school. She'll tell you a little bit about it, and then what we can expect, or at least hope for, in this coming summer. Eleanor, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. So as you just saw, I tend to go off script a little bit. So I'm actually going to do a couple of different things today in addition to talking about summer opportunities. I am going to tell you a little bit about the Alumni Foundation, and I am going to tell you a little bit about my time at Bronx Science. I'm also actually going to talk to you a little bit more in detail about our career symposium, which Ms. Hoyle mentioned earlier. So I'll tell you a little how we structure the Bronx Science Alumni Foundation. And I think what is surprising to everyone is this is actually fairly common. Many high schools in New York, including schools like DeWitt Clinton right next door to us, and certainly schools like Stuyvesant and Brooklyn Tech, have all set up separate 501c3s that organize their alumni foundations and do fundraising. So this is a common New York experience. It is something we work often with the DOE and with different organizations. So our primary purpose is to fundraise for the school and to help increase opportunities and ways we do it. And we do it in a few different ways. We count on our alumni, both for their time, their expertise, and as well as Cliff said, their financials. We look for their support, but we also look to see what kind of connections they have and what kind of opportunities they have. And sometimes they take very unique forms. A few years ago, our boys baseball team made it to the city championship. And that game was played at Yankee Stadium. And I think one of the reasons why we did not win the game was because our players spent most of the time waving to all their family in the audience and a little less of the time at the field because they were so excited to be there. But we were able to, prior to the game, organize a Yankee Stadium tour with them because, as some of you may know, Michael Kay, who's the announcer for the Yankees, is a Bronx Science alum. So they got a full backstage tour. We've brought students to different companies and different organizations. But we've also done other things, like we've heard when alums have, students have an interest in a particular college or a particular program, we managed to connect them with those different ways. And those are the things alumni really like doing, right? They feel very fulfilled to help in that way. It's a very important way to engage them. They like your children. You should be very proud of your children. They are the best way we can promote and talk and share about this school. They're infectious, they're enthusiastic and infectious, and their happiness is fun, and they have great ideas and great energy. So those are some of the different things we try to do. We raise between $1 and $2 million a year. We give the school about $1 million a year, depending on the year of different projects. And we also seek out different aspects of funding, sometimes through different channels of government, sometimes through foundations and other aspects. So we like to think in the last 5 or 6 years, we've sort of doubled our sort of permanent funds from about 6 million to about 12. So we really try and find ourselves a way and look at ourselves as how can we help the school solve problems, and how can we help make things easier for the school, and how can we reduce that burden of bureaucracy. So when we have hurdles, like we begin remote learning and the DOE has a complicated form and we don't know when children will get laptops, we just buy laptops. We just provide Wi-Fi. We look to see what we can do to make those things easy. I think since March, we've spent about $300,000 on laptops, Wi-Fi, webcams, and different aspects of remote learning. One of our biggest expenditures every year is typically the area around student aid, making sure that every student at Bronx Science has a full experience at Bronx Science. And that can include everything from meeting sort of basic needs to computers, but also things like senior dues and going on different trips and different extracurriculars. So it's a really interesting way we do it. A little about me and about my time at Bronx Science. I graduated from Bronx Science in 1999. Cindy's older son and I are classmates and in the same grade. Actually, as Ms. Hoyle talks about Jim, I'm very proud that I was the best athlete in the school and won that award at graduation. And I still maintain that that is my proudest achievement. I was captain of the softball team. I like to tease, I'm actually staying with my mom in Florida for a little bit, and I like to tease her that the best thing she did for me academically was send me to beat Bronx Science, but it was the worst thing she did for me athletically. So I remain excited that I won the Jim Award. After Bronx Science, I went to Columbia. I worked at Columbia for a bit. I also went to Columbia Teachers College and a business school. I have joint degrees in education and business and an undergraduate degree in history. I worked in American Express for a bit. And I actually came and joined Bronx Science when Principal Donahue first became principal. In a crazy story, left my job at Bronx Science to come and help run this foundation. And it's one of the best choices I ever made. It's one of the best jobs I've ever had. And I am very fortunate in the sense of my best friends to this day, who I talk to obsessively all day long and every single day, are my friends from Bronx Science. And that has not changed since we were in high school. When we were first graduated college, we had a email list and we all just emailed on a chat all day long. And we've never actually stopped. And we now have switched it to WhatsApp and text and different things, but they are still my people. And one of the things I like most about Bronx Science is I see that with your children every day. I see how they interact with their friendships and how kind they are to each other and how supportive they are for each other. And I know for them, they don't even realize it yet that this is the start of a lifelong friendship, that these friendships don't go away. And the vast majority of alums I meet at all different aspects of their lives are still very much in touch with their Bronx Science friends. And that's the special community we have here. And that's the special community all of your children are a part of. And I know it's hard to remember that sometimes as we're in this remote space, but those are the roots and those are the ties that we all have together. So I think before I talk about summer opportunities, I will talk a little bit about our career symposium. And this is new and how I think it's all going to work. So one of the things I find often about Bronx Science students is they're so smart and they work so hard. And sometimes we have to help them take a little breath and dream a little. And it's hard when you're on the treadmill of, well, I just have to get good grades and I just have to get into a good school and I just have to do this and I just have to do this. You don't really know what the world is around you. And I think all of us would probably know it in our careers. When you graduated high school, if someone said to you, okay, sit down at a table and make a list of jobs, you probably can't go that far. And the reality is there's hundreds of jobs out there and students don't even know what they're interested in until they even hear about them. And I think for our students, where so many of us and our families have small businesses and different jobs, they don't know about a lot of the opportunities out there. So our goal of the career symposium is to give students that perspective and is to start planting those seeds and giving them those opportunities for exploration to say, well, I didn't know what finance was. Well, I didn't know what working in a nonprofit was. I didn't know what being a consultant was. I thought you had to have 50 years of experience. I didn't realize you did it when you were 22. And hearing about all those things and learning it so that as they go off to college, as they go off to internships in their careers, they have that vantage point and that perspective. So sneak preview, because your children and probably you will get this email tomorrow. So here's how we're going to structure the day. So there are 3 sessions in the morning, 9:30 to 10:30, 10:30 to 11:30, 11:30 to 12:30. Each of those sessions has about 75 to 100 individual workshops, okay? Each workshop is led by an alum, and they're going to talk about a different career, different industry, about their own experience. Students are going to get a spreadsheet listing all these options, and they're going to get to choose the one that they're interested in and go listen. We encourage them to really do their homework. There are a lot of alums, there are a lot of bios out there. Really take the time, read them all, and really be open-minded. You know, if the one you want to go to ends up really full, like go listen to another one because there's some great stories out there. So some of the people I'll talk about, a little preview of some of the speakers just to give you some sense of them. Quite a few people who are judges, different people in aspects in law and finance and business. A lot of people in the arts, very successful playwrights and authors and different opportunities. One of the ones that I think the kids are going to be very excited of is there is a Bronx Science alum who is the creator and executive producer of American Idol, Project Runway, 90 Day Fiancé, and Indian Matchmaker. And I think they're going to be very excited about that. I mentioned Michael Kay, but one of his rivals, Robert Ford, who is the Astros broadcaster and a Bronx Science alum, is one of the speakers. So we've done our best to make sure there is someone for everyone. The most important thing that I think will make this day successful, and this is where you all play a huge role in it, is we need your children to attend. We've asked alumni to take up time in their day. An alum who is sitting on the video chat and no children attend their session would take that really poorly, right? They would question when we keep telling them how enthusiastic and energetic and hardworking our kids are, that they don't attend those things. So I do encourage you and ask you to help make sure your children attend, and to be open-minded and to try something they may not know about, and to do different things. The one I keep joking about, which is my concern, is we have a very successful alum, very, very nice. He practices law in Oklahoma. So, he's one I'm a little worried. Like, we got to get, hopefully some children who might be interested in becoming a cowboy and going out and practicing law and, trying some different things. So similarly, so Jody just asked, Dawn Porter is speaking. She is actually one of the speakers. So for those that don't know, Dawn Porter is a Bronx Science alum. She's a very famous filmmaker. One of her most recent films is on the life of John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis. She spent several years with him to chronicle that story. So Good Trouble. Thank you, Jody. So she's really, really terrific. So the second part of the day, and this part you are all encouraged to attend yourselves. We do have a keynote address for everyone, which features Nobel Prize winner Robert Lefkowitz, who won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2012. I don't want to give away too much of his remarks, but one of his fun facts is he thought he was a biologist until he won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, and then quickly rebranded himself, since apparently his work was more chemistry in nature than biology all those years. So he talks a lot about his research, but one of the things that I think he does really very well that I think the children will like is he talks about the 24 hours you learn when you win the Nobel Prize, and then your experience when you go to Stockholm, and what happens after, right? When you win the Nobel Prize, what does that mean? And what does that do? He says you go to Stockholm and you give this address and you're in this room, and he says, and all these scientists that you've studied your whole life that are, on the pages of your scientific books are there in the flesh. He goes, to the left, there's Watson, to the right, there's Crick, and there's Watson and Crick together. He goes, and now you all of a sudden have to give a speech to these two people. So those are some of the different things. And then in the afternoon, we have a more casual networking event where alums will be at different tables and students can pop by for quick questions. So if they're unable to go to one of the workshops earlier in the day, they can go to the networking event and still connect with some of those people. If they weren't, if they were interested in 6 alums and they, only went to 3. So that's what's happening. The information will go out. I hope your children enjoy it. I hope it's exciting, and looking forward to that. So I will pause and see if there's any questions on that before I switch to my slides and talk about summer opportunities. I pause, and yet I'm not really quite sure how I'm going to do these questions. All right. So let's switch to the slides, and I'm going to give a all right. So let's go to. So this is going to be an unusual presentation in that sense. So let's keep going. This I talked about. I did a great job. This one I did too. This one I did too. Okay. So we're going to pause here. So I'm going to talk about different summer opportunities. Here's what I'm going to do, because this is what's going to be a little unusual. I'm going to talk about the full landscape of anything we've offered in the summer in the past. What I don't know yet is which permutation of these things are going to exist yet this summer. There's a little still too much up in the air, both with the virus itself, but also we remain lots of unknowns with both POMO, the city, and the DOE about what they're going to allow and not allow. So I'm going to put this all out there. Some of these things may exist this summer, but if they don't, a lot of these programs will exist in next summer as well. So I wanted to take that opportunity to share them. The one thing that is not on here, because I'm not in charge of it, but I did want to make a plug for it. Typically during the school year, the school runs a summer school program where they offer art, music, health, and drama, which allows your children to take a couple of their requirements and free up other room in their schedule. I think a lot of students, there's usually, I would say in any given summer, about 500 kids there at a time. A lot of students, I think, do do this program, and it really helps them big difference. A lot of freshmen have done it as well, and helps them make some friends. So should that exist this summer, I strongly encourage your children to take advantage of it, especially if it's virtual. It saves you the commute, and if it's in person, you get to meet your friends. So both options are great. Okay. So I am now going to talk about some different summer opportunities. So the first program I'm going to talk about, our Brunner Awards, is the only one I can tell you for certain is going to happen this year. So the Brunner Awards is a gift we have from a Bronx Science alumnus named Charles Brunner. And in it, he provides us with financial stipends that allow students to sort of fulfill their dreams, their interests and passions. So students apply, and the range of their projects can be very all over the place. We've had kids who've asked us to buy parts to build a computer. We've had kids who've asked us to go to a golf camp. We've had kids who have wanted, money to work on a fashion portfolio and needed a Metro card or different aspects to go on different trips. The students really have an opportunity to explore and share what their passion is and say, this is how I'd love to spend some time. I need a little money to do it. We've had kids who've gone and used it to do research in different areas. We had 2 students, they were actually twins. They went to Japan one year, and we helped them a little bit with programs from this. And they went to Japan and they used it to write a fashion literary blog together. One was interested in fashion, one was interested in books, and they sort of combined their way to do it. So we encourage your students to think creatively. And to really put that in. The applications for that usually open at the beginning of the second semester. So that's about early February. The one thing that I will say that is very, very serious about this is has serious deadlines, and there are no extensions because we have to start awarding the funds. So as students apply by the deadlines, there's no late applications are submitted. And in exchange for receiving the funds, the students have an obligation to submit their biography and a thank you letter. And should they miss those deadlines, unfortunately, we do have to reassign the funding because there's just too many kids that do it. So criteria for this is basically write a compelling application. Sell us your story. Tell us what you're interested in doing. It's a simple Google form. We try to give more kids some funds rather than a few kids a lot of funds. So we try and get creative. Last year, because so many things were virtual, we were able to give probably 30 or 40 kids some sort of funding in some different capacity. The program's a lot of fun. The kids have gone on to do great things. And I know it makes a big difference for them that they like that they get to be directed themselves and it gets to be something they're interested in. All right, I will click to the next slide. However, I can do that. Okay, so we also typically run in the year when we are at school in person, in parallel with our summer school program, a cohort of our summer institutes. Now, these are sort of academic enrichment opportunities around particular topics that are designed for students to work on one thing over the summer, build some new skills, try something out, learn something new, and really get to do something fun. So the Design Institute was our first summer institute. And the concept of it is students work in teams, they identify a problem, and then they build a physical product. So every week they have a prototype, they test the prototype, they present it to a series of experts who are different alums. We get to come in, the alums ask them questions, offer them some feedback. They then spend the next week refining their design. So we've had some of the ones in the past. We've had kids who developed a wireless skateboard brake. We had kids who developed a one-handed soldering iron. We've had someone who invented something to warm their mug. We had kids invent a carryall handle. It's really a good experience for kids interested in engineering, kids interested in problem solving. It's fun to work in a team, and they do lots of different things. So if we get to do summer school in person, if we get to do programs in person, this is the type of program we would also offer this summer. Next. So similarly, one of the things that we've really enjoyed that's been really popular among our students has been our programming academy. We know the computer science program at school, when your class is 40 minutes and you've just had your breakthrough and now you have to get to your new class, that can be frustrating for students as they're trying to learn coding. So the Programming Academy gives them an opportunity to really accelerate their coding skills, just work on that. Think of it as a corollary, almost like a foreign language immersion program, where instead of working on multiple different things at the same time, you're just really focusing on your pure coding skills, how you can accelerate them, how you can improve, how you can learn a lot of different things. I think for a lot of our students who are interested in learning coding, but not necessarily about it as a grade or as a class, but more as a skill, really find the Programming Academy interesting. We use some materials from Coursera, so it's college level coding. It's proven to be very popular, and hopefully this is something, even whether it's the kids like to come in person so they can help each other, but this is something that we have found you can sort of do virtually as well. So we'll see what happens there. Next. All right. So our research programs in biology are, as you know, we talked about the Regeneron scholars, and this is how a lot of those students get their start. They come and they sort of do their own first sets of experiments on their own within our summer research institutes. We do one on animal behavior, which often has crickets and other animals. And then we do one with sort of yeast and tea and some different aspects of molecular biology. But this is really the opportunity for students to work within their own little system, devise their own experiment, practice all those research skills, try it out, get more experience, and that really helps prepare them. Do they want to continue in labs? Do they want to do different things? Do they like doing scientific research? And especially when they go to look at for lab placements and internships, this sort of says, you know, this is not a novice. This is someone who really comes with experience. They get to do some really fun projects. You know, it's nice to be in the labs all summer and, you know, not have to worry that the bell's going to ring and you have to go to your next class. It really lets kids focus and hone their interest in science research. All right, next. So this was the Climate Leadership Institute was the newest summer institute we had, and it's sort of more focused on the sort of policy of climate and less on the science of climate, where students sort of look and talk, learn about the environment, learn about climate, and learn about that implication sort of on different aspects of the country, the world, and what they can do to sort of understand how to change and how to make an impact. So they meet with different speakers, they do different site visits, they do different research, but they're really looking at it from an academic lens of, you know, what changes should we enact, what research should we do, what we should be promoting, what should we be focusing on. We did it once. It was very popular. The kids really enjoyed it. So we're hopeful that students, when we do it again, that there'll be similar interest. And I think the last one. So this is what we did last summer as our, they canceled summer school, everything shut down. What do we do with a way with our students to have an enriching and stimulating summer? So together with the Parents Association, we had BXIU, which was sort of our online enrichment academy. We had more than 30 classes, 8 different disciplines taught by Bronx Science alumni and parents. And it was sort of designed to offer things that we don't really offer in school. So similar to how I talked about the Programming Academy, we did a fair amount of coding, a fair amount of different things, but we also did some finance, learning how to invest, learning what the financial markets are, a fair amount of things in the arts. We did some writing classes. We did a playwriting class. We did some different aspects with art history and entrepreneurship. It was really, we tried to find lots of different things that might be interesting to students and to do it. We used young alumni as teaching assistants, and we had about 800 students who participated last year in our inaugural year. I think people really liked it. I think they found it very positive. Again, too much unknown to know what would happen this year. I think one of the challenges was, you know, we were still a little more Zoom gung-ho in the summer last year, and I'm not sure how Zoom gung-ho everyone will still be in July. So it'll depend to be a lot on how things play out. So that's sort of the landscape of the different things we've done through email, both the school and through the Parents Association. As we will go out with different things, we will share those communications. All right, so let me scroll. So the Programming Academy, that's the most recent question, has historically been taught by teachers in our mathematics department, and they have, and our science department actually, and we often bring in some guest speakers and different things. Yes, so one thing I should share, all of these programs that I have talked about in the Bronx Science Landscape are free. So all these programs, free is the wrong word, they are all sponsored by the Alumni Foundation. So anything we talk about here, we do not charge students to attend Bronx Science programs. All right, let me find some questions. All right, let's see. Grades accepted for the bio research. There were not necessarily grades when we done it required. It's more interest, aptitude, commitment in science. It does tend to skew younger. It does tend to take more freshmen and sophomores, where something like the Design Institute tends to take more seniors who have further skills in engineering and computer science. Anything else? Why have we not tried to team up with the United Nations? I don't know. I need more information about that. I don't understand the context. The Holocaust Museum has a relationship with the United Nations. Our students have spoken there. We've been there multiple times with internships. I don't know. That's a good question for someone in the Parents Association. We offer a bunch of internships through the Alumni Foundation to young alumni with children who are under 18. That's sort of beyond our typical scope. So I will leave that question for the parents. Anything else? Students interested in international relations. So every year, historically, we were getting in the habit of adding more summer institutes every year. So I can't quite tell what we would include in the future. In BXIU, we did have different aspects of international relations, government, foreign service. And here's my plug for the Career Symposium. We have several people with very impressive careers in the foreign service speaking there. So I'd encourage students to really help find there. What else? Anything else I can answer? Any questions I missed? If I missed your question, type it again, because it means I will have to scroll too far. All right. If that is all, I will turn it back to Cliff and Jerome, and I will stick around for a little bit if anyone has any questions, but thank you for everything. I'm easy to find and always happy to come again if you need anything else.
Eleanor, thank you so much.
Sorry, one more. The Brunner report amount is dependent on the students put in a budget. So it depends what they ask for.
Right. So as she said, Eleanor will stick around for a few minutes if there's anything else you guys want to ask about, and it doesn't necessarily have to relate to the summer. In every conversation I've ever had with Eleanor, I walk away from it a little bit more educated than I was before. As you can tell, she is a tour de force. I can't imagine the school without her right now. Anyway, I'll give her one other plug. So, when your kids graduate, they will start to hear immediately from the Alumni Foundation. So it's your role as parents, when your kids take their first company public, remind them where they came from. And if Eleanor doesn't get to them first, send them back to her, okay?
Thank you, Cliff. So I know one of the questions is, the summer programs usually run. So typically how we've done it in normal times is we start pretty much right after school ends. For summer school in particular, they have to get X number of instructional days in. So they usually start right away so they can end as soon as possible and give people a longer break at the end in August. For the summer institutes, we don't have that commitment for the instructional days. So we usually start right after the 4th of July and run for the month of July. So it gives kids a little, and the adults, a little bit more of a break. We have typically opened up all these programs that I mentioned to anyone who is what we would call a Bronx Science student. So that does include, if your student is a senior, they can apply in their senior year, even though technically they are often have graduated by the time they attend these programs. I will say it's not quite that common though for kids to apply in their senior year. We usually see it more sophomore summer and junior summer.
And I hope this question isn't popping in people's minds, but just in case it is, yes, the Alumni Foundation has enormous resources. That does not mean that our PA money is not necessary. Typically, the PA handles a lot of operational things and relate to the day-to-day of the school, whereas Eleanor's organization takes more of a macro approach and figures out where larger sums of money can be spent productively for the school. Is that a fair assessment, Eleanor?
Yeah, I mean, I think a good way to think about it is if you look at the school's budget online, and it's public. Once you sort of take out salaries and you take out any fixed costs, the school is left with about $300 per student. That's supposed to cover anything from books to equipment, but also things like graduation, extracurriculars, and beyond. So you could quickly see that $300 per student goes really, really fast, right? So what we try to do is every year we say to ourselves, okay, can we double that budget? Can we give the school another $300 per kid? Okay, so we've done that. So now how do we triple that budget? How do we give the school $600 per kid? So we work on all that thing. So we're at the point now where we're giving them about $600 more per kid. So we're getting close to tripling it and we're sort of pushing it a little bit more. So that's sort of the right way to look at it, right? And when you think about programs like graduation, programs like our speech and debate team, our athletics program, the drama, but also science survey and Dynamo. There's all these costs in all these sort of different ways. And in a lot of schools, if you went to a private school, your tuition would pay for it and then you'd still pay for it in other ways. If you went to a charter school, they usually have a lot of corporate support that does it. If you went to a suburban school or even a traditional public school, it's not uncommon for all those bills to come home to parents, right? And it on a small scale. Your kid goes to a Bronx Zoo trip, in kindergarten, and everyone sends their $5 in for the bus. But as the kids get bigger, as you know, little kids, little expenses, big kids, big expenses, and big kids with big expenses, families don't always have those resources. And we want to be a school where all students have all those opportunities. So we really focus on aid and access. And I think one of the ways you do aid and access is not just giving students stipends and financial aid, but you make sure programs don't have a cost, right? So when we do things like BXIU and our summer institutes, no one pays. And no one pays because we don't want those stigmas and we don't want those, well, some kids are paying, some kids are not. And we try and do that with all of our programs. And there's some we still have to go, right? We still have money to raise and work to do, but that's sort of a little bit what we're thinking.
Eleanor, Katya asks, is it possible to do both summer school and the summer institute?
It is usually not. And the summer school classes are about 90 minutes in length. And the Bronx Science, the summer institutes are usually about 2 to 3 hours in length. So you usually miss a little too much and you can't miss the summer school classes because those are real classes. So it doesn't really work. I would also argue part of the summer institutes and what makes them work well is that singular focus. And I think having to do a lot of different things that's sort of not the point. It's kind of to take a break from other things, take a break from some of your academic pursuits, and how do you learn to be a lifelong learner and learn and do some enrichment that is just for that.
Anything else, folks? This is your opportunity. She only comes to us once a year. If not, I think we're going to perhaps put a lid on this at a record hour and 10 minutes. Wow, I'm impressed. Eleanor, once again, thank you. Cindy, thanks for sticking around. And if Principal Hoyle is still in the house, thank you as well. Jerome and I have had a little bit more access to these individuals maybe than the average parent, which is why we were much more confident over the summer when things were not looking so great that it would come together well. And with them in the house, our kids are in good hands. So thanks again, Eleanor. I don't know, Jerome, anything else before we say goodbye?
No, I think that's good. And to your point, man, an hour and 11 minutes. That's good stuff.
So for anyone who didn't get a chance to attend the coffee with the principal, there was some good information there about from the school social worker. What was her name again, Jerome?
Ms.
Danielle
Heckman.
Heckman.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, listen, we're all a little anxious these days. We've been saying this pretty much at every meeting, and I know we all know our kids are feeling it. Keep an eye on them, please, for all of us, for you, for them. I think we're going to get through this. I'm starting to feel it.
And Cliff, just one thing.
Yes.
That presentation will be in the weekly e-news. There'll be a link to it.
Thank you. And she made it pretty clear that she is a resource that our kids can access anytime. So with that, I think we'll just we are going to say goodnight, but it's time for my quote of the month. From Mahatma Gandhi: live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever.